Babe, I'm ready to be a gravel badass. So we're here on the Route 8 gravel today. I'm here with Nicole. We're gonna do a ride. Nicole, tell us about yourself.
Awesome, yeah, my name is Nicole and I love cycling. I'm new to cycling, 2 years in, and it's my favorite thing to do.
Ooh, okay. All right, let's do this. Apologies in advance if we cut in and out of frame while we avoid puddles. There was a pretty big storm last night.
It's gonna make it more exciting.
Yeah. Okay, so the first thing I want to know about people is like, how did they get into cycling?
Yeah, of course, that's the most exciting thing to learn. So I did not cycle growing up. I always like to tell people that because they assume that they're like, hey, you have clearly, grown up cycling. And I'm like, no, I did not. So a couple years ago, right before COVID hit, I was feeling like I was missing something in my life and I was sad and I just needed something that brought me joy. And I really honed in on that feeling when I was in New Zealand visiting my sister. And my friend Carl, who any Akronite knows, Carl Wardren, he was like, Nicole, go to Dirty River and buy a bike. See Otis. They will give you something that you need. And I was terrified, absolutely terrified to go into this bicycle shop and talk to strangers about something I knew nothing about. And I went in and told them my budget and they gave me some options and I bought my first bike in March of 2020. So that's kind of set my life on fire, as I like to say.
Like right before pre-pandemic beginning, when like the whole rest of the world discovered that there was nature too,
yes,
and bicycles. So you got in there under the wire.
Yeah.
So what was like that first season of riding like?
The first season was pretty, I like to say it was like the full spectrum of emotions because so my first bike was a Cannondale Treadwell and it's kind of like a hybrid cruiser type bike. Definitely felt a little juvenile, but perfect for like a beginner. It served me very well. And I overemphasize the fact that when I took my first ride by myself, 3.5 miles about killed me. I had not ridden a bike in like 30 years when I bought that bike.
Yeah.
So I went from doing, 3 to 5 miles. That first bike ride was emotional because I not only felt defeated, but I felt like I had fallen in love and found like that thing that I was missing, which was terrifying and exhilarating. So I was like, okay, well, I can't really do very many miles right now, so how do I get better? And I created like my own little training plan. And I knew that 5 miles was kind of my baseline. So I was going out on the towpath because it was safe every day, doing 3 to 5 miles for about a month. And then I was like, okay, I've got this. I'm not crying anymore. I don't feel like I'm like in pain. And then I started every week, I would have 2 days a week that I added miles to my long day rides, as I called them. Which back then looked like, the first month was like 7 to 10. And then the second month was like 10 to 15. And I basically was just out there every day. And I was like, okay, well, if you can't do 10 today, you have to do 8.
Yeah.
Or if you're feeling good at 8, you better go to 12.
Yeah.
And that's how I attacked it. So by the end of the summer, I was able to do 80-mile rides.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. But then, and you had the Treadwell the whole first year.
Well, yeah, at the end of the season, I bought my All City. And basically bought it right as like the winter hit, so I didn't really get it out much. But I was terrified to ride this bike because it had dropper bars.
Oh.
And I was like, how do I ride this? And it felt completely different. So I lived in Akron at the time near a cemetery. And I was just riding my bike to the cemetery and rolling around the cemetery every day until I got comfortable on this bike.
Yeah.
To like learn how to shift, learn how to like do what I just did, not fall when I hit a bump. You know, like,
Yeah.
because it is a very different feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then last season, I had goals to get over, you know, or at least hit 100 miles. And so I kind of attacked it in the same way. Just adding those miles on every week, even if it was just 1 mile.
Yeah. So it seems like you're like individually really like self-motivated and kind of like methodical about that. But have you
Yes.
had like other support systems that have helped you like continue to like grow as a cyclist?
Absolutely. So obviously my friend Carl has played a pivotal role in like getting me cycling and going on rides, but I happen to have a neighbor at the time, Tony Scarpetti, who's also a Yeti and a great Akron cyclist. And he was taking me out that first season. He invited me to go on rides with him. And I always, actually, I love this story because the first ride we went on, the towpath, it had rained a little bit. And this is when I could like not do 15 miles. And there was like that point where the ground is wet and but there's pavement and my tire slipped off the pavement and I hit that wet ground and I fell. And it was like, it could have been like the most traumatizing and embarrassing moment ever, right? The first time I'm riding with my neighbor and like I don't know him at the time. And he was so kind and kept inviting me out and would be like, hey, let's go on like this 15-mile ride. And then it turned into, hey, let's do a 20-mile ride. And then hey, let's do a 25-mile ride. And then once I hit that 25-mile mark, I was like, hey, I can go on a Yeti ride. Like, because I was terrified, and I can't overemphasize, like, you should not be scared to go on a Dirty River Yeti ride. Like,
No.
it is the most accepting, amazing group of humans I've ever met in my adult life.
Yeah, I mean, and it's definitely one thing to hear that, but to like really experience it.
Yeah.
But like, do want to stress, like, don't be intimidated by that.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
you will be welcome.
Yes. Even if you can only do like 10 miles, there's always someone who will turn around with you. We just want people to ride. And I always overemphasize that, like, I want all of the women to ride gravel with me. So, like, the more people, the merrier, in my opinion. But I was so scared. I can't, it took me months to get the nerve to go on that first Yeti ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was like, what in the heck, Nicole? Like, this is like the best group of humans. Like, you missed out a little bit. But those three, you know, people groups have been absolutely pivotal in making me feel safe and welcomed and comfortable in my journey so far.
That's awesome. So what are your, I mean, I guess we're kind of like halfway through the 2022 main season.
Yes.
What are you working on this year? Like, do you have goals or a trip planned, or what did you do this past weekend?
Oh yeah. So, I'm also a mountain biker now, and I was at a all-women's mountain bike festival this past weekend, Rooted. It's super cool, super fun, more entry level, and really a beautiful experience. But I'm working on trying to get up hills faster.
Yeah.
And I also really want to do 150 miles by the end of the season. So hopefully by, say, October, November area. And currently I have a mega focus for both gravel and mountain biking to get better at hill climbing.
Yeah.
Which intimidates a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I feel like I spent the first year of cycling apologizing. So I'm in the period where I'm like, I'm not going to do that, but I will work on what I need to do to get better at it so I feel more comfortable. So
are you, to work on that, are you just like riding more hills? Are you doing hill repeats? Like,
yeah, so
what's
both.
your strategy?
Yeah, so I try to scope an area that I'm in. They say, like, if I have a day where I'm like, okay, I have the energy, like I have the time, I drive around and I find like the scariest looking hill that's not too trafficky. And I just get my bike out and I do hill repeats. And I'm also trying to practice like doing those out of my saddle on my gravel bike.
Yeah.
Because I will try to like just punch through that hill climb in my saddle. And it's like, I'm not utilizing all of the muscles that I have in my butt and my thighs, that if I stand, I'm gonna be able to do that. Yeah. So those are kind of the big things. And like, I can't say enough that like, I just have also been working a lot on not saying sorry when I have to walk my bike up something or get off my bike and just stop and breathe. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think not saying sorry and working on a mindset to do that is like whole psychological shift.
Yeah.
That like, it makes the things that you were saying sorry for a whole different experience.
Absolutely. I talk about this a lot because I see it with like my female friends where it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And it's like, all right, well, it's cool. Like, let's just walk our bikes up this hill and we'll come back and try to do it without getting off until we're like 5 feet deeper into the hill, right? Like, right. And that's kind of how my mind works. Like, if I suck at something, well, I want to get better. Right. So it's hard to have that mindset, but once you get it, it's very helpful.
If you're focused on saying sorry and the self-consciousness that is motivating you to say sorry, oops, see, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was a good hill. Talking about hills.
You're not focusing on like your riding.
Yeah,
and like,
and the love. Yeah, just being outside on your bike. Yeah.
I am also not very good at hills, and typically ride with cyclists are way stronger riders than I am, so feel self-conscious a lot.
Yeah.
And so like I developed this mantra where I would just tell myself like, this sucks, but it is gonna make every hill after this easier. Like, you may not tell, but eventually it'll add up and hills will be easier.
Yeah, that's actually fantastic. So I have a very similar mantra that I tell myself, and I'm always like, hey, this hill is necessary to do the more fun shit you want to do. So, I mean, I get it. Like, it's really about mindset and just having fun. Like, I think, to me, if I try to get too serious with this, it's just not gonna serve me the way that it has served me the last 2 years.
Yeah. And, well, I forgot what I was gonna say. So there's that.
Yeah, we just went up that hard hill and we're rolling through some good puddles, so.
Yeah. I was just thinking about like how we were talking about mountain biking earlier and how like it's such a different experience muscle-wise.
Yes.
Like, you mentioned that you were like way more endurance, and so am I. Like, I can go out there and ride like a century. Yeah. Like, it's not gonna be the fastest, but like, and my legs will be tired the next day, but my legs can keep pushing almost indefinitely.
Yes.
But with mountain biking, I'm like, I just rode 2 miles and my legs cannot work anymore. And that always makes me feel great.
Yeah.
Like, I am so glad that my legs are tired. Like, this is building muscles that will serve me in all of my riding.
Absolutely. Definitely, like I say, I can do 100 miles on this bike and 10 on my salsa.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very different muscle group being utilized.
Yeah. Babe, I'm just getting past this situation. Well,
and I also highly recommend hitting you know, a more beginner mountain bike trail on your gravel bike.
Yeah.
And you can session areas that feel hard in a safe space, because I have yet to have on a beginner trail someone get mad at me for like being on the side of the trail, trying to practice like a skill, like slipping on loose dirt or gravel.
Yeah, I don't think I ever would have tried mountain biking. Like if somebody was like, here, borrow this mountain bike and go mountain biking, I would have been like, no, no.
That's fair.
But like being able to do it on my own bike, and have at least that level of comfort made a huge difference, and now I love it.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, I'm not a great mountain biker, don't get me wrong.
I mean, I'm still a beginner too. It's not about being great per se. It's about pushing yourself and advancing your skill set and just doing fun shit out in the woods. Like that's the joy of mountain biking. And those skills really do cross over, like being, even if you're not on a mountain bike trail, like come out on a gravel road like this and practice whipping your hips and learning what it feels like to have less control. Yeah.
Which is really hard for me because I'm an enormous control freak.
Yeah,
but
so am I.
It is liberating, like and then like when something unexpected happens and you like keep your bike up, you're like, oh my God, I do actually have more skills than I thought I did.
Yeah, you're like, I did not fall and break my face, and that was amazing. Yeah. Or like right now, how we're, you know, riding together in a very wet and rocky trail. Definitely, skill work is necessary and also an absolute blast when you can like just have fun with it. Yeah. And not take it too seriously, and you know, hey, buy some knee pads and fall. Yeah. Were you there on the Yeti ride where I wouldn't stop trying to get up the tiny hill? I don't know if it was that one, but I have seen you get up some hills that looked like you were struggling, but you still did it. Yeah, well, I find that amazing. The tiny hill is the one that's over in like Park East. And there was a Yeti ride that I went on, and everybody was getting up and I couldn't get up it. And I tried like 75 times and I couldn't. And the next day I like rode out there again. It was snowing and like just kept being like, okay, I shifted here and I stood up here and like I eventually got it and then got a great video of it. Awesome. And it's just like that real like childhood joy of mastering something that was eluding you. It's amazing. Yeah, and honestly, that's a great point to make to anyone, you know, thinking about trying this type of riding. Is like, I didn't grow up on a bicycle. And when I first picked up a bike 2 years ago for the first time in, I don't know, like 30-ish years, I think I felt that like innocent joy and like just happiness that I had been evading. Like I just couldn't find that in my adulthood. Yeah. And I think that as long as you keep that while you're, you know, enhancing your riding, and honestly, if you never want to ride more than 10 miles, at least you're on that bike and do 10 miles or 5 miles or 3 miles. And if you're getting 10 miles of joy or 7 miles of joy, that's joy. Yeah, I mean, you're releasing those endorphins that are absolutely a beautiful thing to experience, regardless of how many miles or how hard of a ride that it is. Yeah. So like you found a lot of avenues to like make this what you need it to be, but what would like the environment or the community or things within yourself, what could change there that could make it even more? Yeah, so I have big opinions on this. I really think that just making sure that I find group rides to continue to participate in, to keep going to Yetis and keep meeting new people. And also, like, for me personally, I'm at a phase in my life where I want more of a female community, not to exclude the men. Right, but, I feel like that would help me and help others just like excel in a way that, you know, because it's like, I hate saying like safe space, but a comfortable space.
Yeah.
And just getting more people involved and, you know, even friends like, hey, let's go and do this railroad track without following in a group of 25, right?
Yeah.
Because it's fun when I'm with a group, but like, to me, like that next step is how do I do this with myself or with say just one other woman or 3 others?
Yeah.
And it's still as enjoyable or, you know, still like not pushing me out of that like comfort zone into like the terrifying world of like, I don't know. And I think it's like for me, my personal goals, it's really important to continue I'm also a control person and it's so easy to like fall into that comfort zone.
Yeah.
And like, sometimes I overemphasize this to people because I'm like, listen, you think that like Instagram, I think actually hurts us in a way.
Yeah.
Because you see like the wins, right? But you don't see me halfway through that win thinking, what the heck am I doing? Or I'm terrified or I fell.
Yeah.
And, or I thought that I couldn't get through that gravel because it was really loose and terrifying. Which I have fallen down a train track and I did survive. I did not even get hurt. So like, you know, yeah, hopefully that helps you to hear. It was a very loose, steep hill and I fell and slid all the way down in front of a lot of people and I survived. But I think that's like, get out there and ride. If you're scared, even those of us who you think that like wouldn't want to ride with you, we want to ride with you. We want to teach you. We want to have fun and just be on our bikes.
Yeah, or like the people that you think are fearless are not necessarily.
Yes.
Like you're not seeing like every ride I don't take because I have anxiety about riding on the roads. Or like, I mean, I think it is a very different experience as like a woman or like any other non-traditional group of people trying to do something that is traditionally white male, generally privileged dominated.
Yes.
But like when you hear somebody like Ben will say, oh, I'm uncomfortable with this. And I'm like, you're uncomfortable at anything in cycling? I know him. He's one of my best friends, but he says it and I still can't put it together. But like, I think we have to learn to not accept Instagram as reality.
Yeah, social media always shows like the beautiful part of everything. And I think that it's really important to like, when we're talking, to just be vulnerable and like discuss this stuff in person, because I'm the first person to say like, I don't take some routes. I will hop off my bike and walk.
Yeah.
And that is okay. And no one should ever make you feel uncomfortable. And I'm sorry if people have experienced that, but just know that there are a lot of us that I want to ride with you. I don't care if you only want to do 3 miles and you want to go 2 miles an hour. Like, let's just do it. You know, like it's beneficial just to be outside, to have those endorphins. And I just, biking gave me a community and I'm meeting people like you guys and like all of the other Yetis. And I can't, you know, Dirty River has just been a home for me through some really big life changes. And I don't know what I would have done the last, 2.5 years without this community. And it's changed my life. And I am a completely different person because of it. And I just feel so much love and appreciation for cycling and the people that I've met.
I feel all of that. And I'm just so glad that it's that for other people, you know? And I'm glad that it like brings like you and I together. Like we obviously like, I know Carl, you know Carl, like, but like, I don't know that we ever would have met if it weren't for cycling, right?
I honestly see you guys online and I'm like, holy frick. Like there are these ridiculous cyclists that do all these cool trips that like, I want to aspire to do someday, but so it's kind of like, this is a great example of where like, I actually have been slightly intimidated to talk to you. And
I have been intimidated to talk to you. Do you remember when we were riding and that part fell off your bicycle and then I rode up and I was all awkward and I was like, this fell off my bicycle. I gotta go over here now.
So this is this is a really beautiful example of like, we're just 2 fucking cool women who want to ride bikes and who are a part of a beautiful, all types of person community.
Yeah.
I like to overemphasize as well that like, I do talk a lot about women, but I love all of the people in our community.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's a beautiful space for LGBTQ plus and non-binary. And we have so many different, you know, POCs, and like, it's just, let's get everyone. Like, it doesn't matter. I think that, like, for me, when I'm on my bike, it's just like, it doesn't matter what you do for a living. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how tall you are, how heavy you are.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like, every size, every type of person, every sex of person, like, it's just fun to be on that bike and on the two wheels. And it doesn't matter. And that's what I think has, like, it's just allowed me to grow so much as a woman, as a person, finding a community. Yeah. In our age bracket, to find a community that is more special than what I ever had even as a kid. Yeah. It's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you ever think about, oh, I'm in my late 30s, early 40s, I'm gonna make cool new friends doing cool new shit. Like, that's not what I thought my early 40s would be like.
Me either. You know, if you would have asked 20-year-old me, I would have never have
I'd be like, 40, that's when my life was. But.
Yeah, and we're challenging ourselves and learning new skills. Yeah. And it's just so cool. And I know cool is kind of like a basic word to use, but it's a good one. Every type of cycling that I've done, whether it's the mountain biking, the gravel, the dirt jumping at Ray's Indoor Mountain Bike Park. I just picked up a fat bike. It doesn't matter. Everyone's so fun. Yeah. And I think that's something that's really important to talk about, that all of those communities want you to join. Yeah. And want you to be there. And so I spent a lot of time feeling anxious about reaching out and trying to ride with new people because I didn't think that I was good enough. And I think that, like, when you can cross that barrier and just be like, who cares if I have to walk up this hill or... Yeah. And you know what? If you reach out to somebody and they're like, nah, like, okay, that's not the right group for you to ride with. That doesn't matter. Exactly. Like, okay, then it's good to know that. Yeah, and we actually know people who ride in groups that are more geared towards a certain type of riding. And then they also ride with me or with you or with, you know, new riders. And I think that, like, understanding that, having those conversations and, you know, saying, hey, this is the type of ride I want, and then having people, like, accept you into that. It's there. And I cannot stress enough to, like, reach out, talk to us, reach out and say, hey, let's go on a ride. Because, like, I see, you know, like you and Bront, like, you guys have... Oh, yeah, well, I'll add you to that group. You know, I see you guys there, and I'm like, okay. You know, so those are great examples. Like, there are so many rad people out here doing the thing, and we want you to join. Yeah. I think that's where I'm at. Yeah, I mean, and I think the baseline of that is, like, that group where when I've been riding with, like, Bronlyn and Chrissy and Katie and Heather on Thursday nights, we are all actually super socially awkward. And so, like, that's why it seems like kind of closed, is because we're actually really awkward and feel like nobody else would want to spend time with us. And this is another great example of how we are like, you know, because as we age, we do become more awkward and, like, oh, you know, how do we make friends? Like, how do we say, you know, it's funny because I can actually use my niece as an example. Like, I'll take her somewhere and she'll just be like, I really like that outfit. Like, can you be my friend? And then they're, like, off playing for, like, you know, and it's just like, how do you take that into adulthood? It's like, well, hey, I like your bike. Yeah. And you know what, you guys, that's a great entry. Yeah, it really is. It's a great way to, like, start talking to someone that you might feel intimidated about. You brought me a piece to my bike that luckily Dirty River put back on. Yeah. I rode my bike so hard that I actually started to lose pieces off of it. So that's a fun thing. I mean, that's great. That's the beauty of having a bicycle is when things start falling off because of use, you know that you're doing the thing that's cool. That's so true. That's so true. Yeah. Awesome. I think that we could probably, like, talk for the rest of the night, but I don't think we'll the YouTube, I don't think the YouTube video or viewers have that kind of attention span. But obviously, I think everybody can tell. I thought this was a great conversation. Thank you so much for coming on this ride. And I think that probably off of YouTube, we'll probably be riding more together. I agree. Yeah. Yeah, cool. And hopefully we'll have some more people reaching out and wanting to ride as well. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Tim.